All right, guys, here we have a very familiar sight if you've been watching the channel. This is my Mechanics Garage CNC Euro, and as you can see, it's the 76 up on the lift. I've not done a video about this particular car in a little while because it's been up on the lift and over here at the shop, and I've been focused on my Bring a Trailer auction and other fun stuff that I've been working on. But luckily, I got a text from Charles, and he said the engine and trans are getting ready to go back into your 76. So I rushed over here and decided to get some video of what we've got going on here. We have gone through, I shouldn't say we, I didn't touch it. Charles and his friend Greg back there have gone through the motor, have fixed up this, that, and the other, and tested a few things. He's going to walk us through that. The trans was sent down to Autometrics in South Carolina, and I was shocked at how quickly they turned that. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn it over to Charles, and if you want to just start to walk us through where we are and what's going to happen next.
Well, let's just start over here on this side. We'll walk around the engine and tell you what we did. All the sheet metal's been redone. We took it and had it powder coated. Seems to be the best way to protect it. If you just paint it, it just, if it gets anything on it, it just takes it off. So this is permanent. So it turned out really good. We cleaned it all off down to bare metal.
Well, and who did that good work? Who cleaned off the...
Well, Will did most of it, but he missed spots here and there. And then we straightened out anything that's been bent up over the years, and then we send it off, and it comes back looking all pretty. We basically went around and resealed everything, obviously a valve adjustment, checked the camshaft timing on both sides just to make sure it was dialed in correctly from whoever had done the other work. And that meant, resealing the front's covers. It's got a new front crankshaft seal. It has a new intermediate shaft cover seal. Just cleaned everything up while it was apart.
Fuel lines we did, right?
Yep, fuel lines. There's one fuel line that's underneath the intake, and you basically have to split it and take one side off to really get it in there. But, they could be a fire hazard. They get old. They start to leak. That's not a good thing. So we just, while we had it out, we took that apart and did that one. If you come around over here, you can see there's also this one in the back that we redid also. So all the fuel lines on the engine itself are all redone. Like I said, the transmission just came back, sent it to Autometrics. They've always done really great work for us. They replaced a bunch of bearings. It had a noise in it. So we replaced the bearings and some synchros, and it should be spot on. We still have to put oil in it. We're just finishing up a couple of things, and then we'll be ready to slide it up into this little hole here. Will cleaned it all up, made it all pretty and shiny and stuff.
And those rubber pieces, excuse me, what are those called?
Well, they're just the engine seal.
We'll call them the engine apron, and I put those in. And Charles, how impressed are you with my...
It looks really good,
craftsmanship, man.
I know. They're not fun to do, are they? Try to slide those in there.
No, I found that, what is it, silicone?
Yeah,
spray.
Silicone spray.
That was.
So how much blood did you have to let to get them in?
I did slice my finger. I took a big chunk out of it, so I wrapped it with paper towel and just pretended like it didn't happen.
Yeah, tape, paper towel, and electrical tape, and away you go. But
so what do you think about? We got new hoses up here, right?
Right.
Which I just thought, why not do that while we're in there?
Well, I think one of them was cut or something.
Dude, it was hacked. It was hacked together. It was like the wrong material, I think.
Yeah, and so we just wanted to make it right. Yeah, new clutch cable, because yours was stretched. So I think we've done really everything that you should do when you take it out.
And I hammered on this in the last episode, but we feel good about engine health based on everything we know.
New clutch.
New clutch, all new pieces there, right?
Yep, okay. All three.
And this car also had, just in case you haven't seen the history of it, it had a really big Fab Speed exhaust on it, and it sounded really good, but it was banging up against the car. It was just too big, and I really didn't like the tip either. It ended up hitting the valence. If you can see here, it started to rust as a result of. So we're going to put a stock exhaust setup back on this car. So we will have nailed down the engine, the transmission, the exhaust. I mean, really, is there anything else that could have been causing the vibration potentially?
No, I think it was really in the transmission. You saw the bearings. We had those. We looked at them yesterday.
Yes.
And you could just put them together and spin them, and they were really rough,
Yeah.
made a lot of noise. They were, you know, it's supposed to be a real shiny, polished finish, and it was as if somebody had taken, you know, steel wool or something. Synchros, replaced those, the ones that had wear on them. Just to, you know, if you got it all apart, you might as well do it right.
Yeah, and I'll, you know, I will share with the viewers in kind of a wrap-up video on this experience how much all of this cost, because I think people just need a reality check of what it can cost you to get into these cars. At the end of the day, I mean, financially it hurts, but I think the joy of ownership is fun. Although I just kind of landed on 2 points the other day. I was talking to a buddy, and there are really only two major segments of ownership that I enjoy: the hunt,
Yeah.
and then driving in the mountains. I think everything else between sucks.
Yeah.
Namely this kind of a thing. So, Charles, you do see that though, right? Like guys run out and they buy a car, and then they show up over here.
Yeah.
And
Should I show you a perfect example?
sure, for sure.
Okay. So in any event, this guy buys a Euro car out of France, has it shipped over here, and then brings it to me. Okay. He's a friend of a friend who has another 911 that we went over the whole car. Loves his car. It's a 79. It's got a 3-liter from the factory in it. Car ran really great when it got here. Started taking it apart. Valves were cracking like crazy. I mean, that's the first line of when we started looking at it. Engine is really noisy. So we went through everything, and then we did our work on it, and it's a really nice car. The problem is that at an idle, once it warms up, it has what we think to be a rod knock in it, like a rod bearing is out in it. It thunks.
So what's the remedy?
Take the engine apart.
And so
you know,
yeah, I mean,
the
and
big engine apart, like split the case kind of stuff. So,
and you've seen that over and over, right? Like,
yeah, we did that turbo that came in. The guy spent all the money for it, but got this beautiful black turbo, and
964 turbo.
964, yep. And it had, how many broken case studs was that? Was it, or the head studs? Was it 5? Or was it just 3? 3.
3 and not 5. Well, that
yeah.
makes it a lot better.
So, you know, take it all apart, and while you're in there, you do a valve job, you look at everything, and you fix it, and then you reseal everything. So, you know, after you buy a car, you can plan on spending 20 grand, you know, real easy.
That's it, quick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the lesson...
You could talk from experience on that.
Yeah, we don't want to get into that.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay,
I've
not
documented
today.
that thoroughly. Well, so what is do you have advice on a PPI when you're buying the car?
The first thing you got to do is find somebody who's independent of the guy who has the car. Yes. All right. And after that, and you can go through like Porsche cars, PCA, talk to somebody at National, find out, you know, what region it is, and they will give you like a regional director. Regional director will give you a name. That's how I get cars in here. Somebody calls up the local head of this region, and they go, oh, you got to see Charles, you know, and that's how I get a lot of these cars, especially these air-cooled. And then find that independent out there that's, you know, a good Porsche guy. That's all he does. That's all we do is, if you turn around, it's nothing but Porsches in here. Well, I got a Jaguar over there.
Yeah, but that's your old dusty Jag that's been sitting there forever.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I preach is a Porsche specialty shop. And I don't, you know, I get admonished every now and then in my comments like, hey, you're too hard on sellers. They're not trying to hide anything. And maybe there are a lot of great sellers out there. Maybe they just don't know.
Some people don't know.
But
or they take it to an average mechanic type of a facility as opposed to a specialist.
So here's the problem with the PPI, at least remotely. They really have no vested interest in spending a lot of time and going through it because there's no repairs in it for them. They know it's going to get shipped out. And so you got to question how thorough they are. Now, I know you are. You've told me you'll tank a deal.
I have.
Yeah.
You know, because I'll find stuff in it, and it's like the guy who wants the PPI is paying me. Even if I know the owner to it, I just rip it apart. If there's stuff that's wrong with it, I have cars that get brought from the local dealer, a local guy who sells these cars, and some of them it's like, I'm sorry, but it needs this, 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 and this. And you never know, you know, what's going to happen.
Well, in my view as a buyer, I mean, I'd just rather know and maybe get a fair price and then and realize that, like, hey, okay, the car's going to be on a lift for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and you know, my expectation is that way. It's not, hey, the car's going to show up turnkey.
Yeah.
So,
well, you can buy those turnkey cars, but you know, they're the more expensive ones, and you've had to do your due diligence.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've yet to see one. Maybe I just suck at buying. So, Charles, man.
No, they're all like this.
Yeah, yeah.
But the market is so strong that people are going, you know, my car is, you know, an okay car, but I think it's time for me to sell it, you know.
Well, and the online auctions make them look so sexy in pictures and video.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't know. I just call it the shark-infested waters of air-cooled. I'm sure there are a lot of really good-hearted, honest sellers out there, but I think there are also some opportunistic people I've seen. So I think at the end of the day, if you're going to get into this, know that it's definitely worth it once it's all said and done. And as I shared with you earlier on, I'll do another video about this experience, sharing with you how much it actually costs. So Charles, man, thank you so much for spending some time with me today.
You're welcome.